people. Really, really nice.
I just heard banging, really, really loud banging and screaming.
It was quite a chaotic scene.
Residents of an Oshawa neighborhood are in shock tonight after 5 people are found dead after a shooting inside a home. The dead include 4 males and a female. Police say the shooter and the victims were known to each other. Another woman was shot but survived. Neighbors on the street alerting police to the unfolding tragedy early this morning after hearing multiple gunshots. Greg Ross has been on this for us all day. He's live outside the home tonight near Harmony and King Street East. Greg, what's the latest on the investigation tonight?
Well, Maribel, as you can imagine, this has been a shocking and horrifying day for the residents of this quiet Oshawa community. First to wake up to the sounds of gunshots in the early morning hours, and then to realize that those shots were coming from this house here behind me, a home where a very well-known family in this community lives. And then another scary moment just a few hours ago, actually, when police had to clear this entire area, and then they brought in the explosives disposal unit after investigators found something that they believed to be suspicious inside the home. It took a couple of hours. They were able to clear the scene. They were able to confirm that there was no threat inside the home, and now investigators are back inside that home, a house where 4 people were killed this morning by a shooter who later took his own life.
And I just heard banging, really, really loud banging.
In fact, it was gunshots that echoed through this quiet Oshawa community, waking up residents just after 1 o'clock this morning. And then there was something else.
And screaming, a female screaming. I didn't know what was going on, but the banging continued.
Residents say they heard anywhere from 10 to 15 gunshots, and police have confirmed they all came from inside this house. By the time police arrived, they discovered a horrifying scene.
There are 5 victims within that residence, including the alleged suspect. So we have 1 female, 4 males.
Police have since confirmed that 2 adult males and 2 children were killed in the shooting. The suspect also died of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. Only 1 person who was in the house at the time made it out alive.
There was a female that was taken from this residence with a gunshot wound, and she remains in hospital.
Police are not confirming the identity of any of the victims or the shooter, but we are learning more about the people who live in this home. And by all accounts, neighbors say they are the perfect family.
And we knew the family when they first moved in. Loretta and Chris, quiet, kept to themselves, raised their kids, really, really respectful family. So I can't believe this is like Chicago.
Neighbors tell us parents Loretta and Chris Traynor are both school teachers. They have 4 kids together, and it's believed 3 of the kids were home at the time of the shooting. Bradley Traynor, a student at Western, Adelaide, who is just starting high school, and their youngest son, Joseph. This man is a former student of Chris Traynor's and a close family friend.
You know, he got involved with the school a lot, coached for many teams for the school. Everyone knew him. Everyone knew Mr. Traynor.
It doesn't make any sense knowing Chris and Loretta that it would have been one of them. They're very happy, outgoing, very family-oriented people.
Police are still here on scene investigating, but one detail that they did provide us early this morning is the fact that there was a white pickup truck that was parked in front of the home at the time of the shooting, and it was parked facing the wrong way on the street here. That truck also had Manitoba license plates. Now, police believe it may be connected to the shooting in some way. They have towed that truck away so that it can be investigated by the forensics unit. We talked to a number of neighbors about that truck, and those neighbors tell us that they have never seen that truck before. So, Maribel, again, this is still a very active crime scene. Many investigators still on scene here and still trying to piece together what happened early this morning.
Still more questions, but thank you for the latest on this, Greg. Toronto police are still trying to figure out what caused a boat crash that killed a 47-year-old man and injured 6 others yesterday off Woodbine Beach. A video taken by a witness suggests the boat was traveling at a high speed directly toward the rocks about 90 meters offshore. According to police, it's been a busy summer on the water. Our Talia Ricci joins us live from the scene of yesterday's crash. So Talia, what's the latest from that incident?
Well, Marivelle, no word from police yet on any charges or whether alcohol or speed were factors. We know that 1 man died, 3 others were taken to hospital, 2 with non-life-threatening but serious injuries, and 1 with minor injuries. 3 more were treated here on scene yesterday. Now, the Toronto Police Marine Unit says that the number of calls they've received have gone up 30 to 50% this summer. We also spoke with a boating instructor who says there's quite a few new boaters out on the waters. We asked him for some safety tips and also what could have caused yesterday's crash.
It was confusing to me because it seemed unusual that a boat would be heading towards shore at that speed without altering course. So I'm not really sure what occurred, whether it was a mechanical problem with the vessel or just an inexperienced boater. Could have been either one.
When you are instructing students on boat safety, what are some of the first things that you teach them about operating a boat like that?
It's important, first of all, for boaters to understand the rules of the road and safe operating speeds and such. So anybody who takes a Pleasure Craft Operator Card course, which is a requirement to operate a boat in Canada, will be taught all of the rules of the road, safe operating speeds, speed zone restrictions, navigation aids and such. Take it very seriously because as the operator of a boat, you are responsible for the lives of the people on board as well as other boaters as well. Ultimately, you know, with COVID-19, there are more boaters that are getting into the marketplace, but they're buying old boats that shouldn't be on the water because that's all there is, or maybe that's all their budget allows for. There's no marine surveys being done on the vessels. They're not aware completely of what needs to be fixed. And so they're heading out on the water with unsafe boats.
Have you noticed an increase in the number of new boaters out on the water?
There's definitely been an increase in new boaters. Like I said, the renters seems to be a big option for people. You get a lot of people that really don't know how to operate and maybe don't want to ask all the questions on how to operate these, either Sea-Doos or boats.
Have you had many issues with speed?
Yeah, there has been speed, and a lot of that is the new operators. They don't know because they may not have their license to operate a boat. They don't know what the speed limit is. A lot of them treat this lake like it's a cottage lake, and it's not. It's huge, and it can be pretty dangerous at times.
Toronto police are still looking to speak with anyone who might have witnessed yesterday's crash or anyone with cell phone video. According to the Life Saving Society, there have been 16 boating deaths across the province. That's as of last Friday. Now, those numbers are down from last year, but that could be because of a slow start to the season due to COVID-19. Marivelle?
Talia, thanks for this. Toronto police are asking for your help in locating a missing woman. Here's a photo of 20-year-old Yasmin Mohammed Hersi. Police say she was last seen in Rexdale on Monday afternoon around 2 o'clock near Lightwood Drive and Sanigan Road. Thousands have shared her photo on social media, and officers say they've received several tips but haven't been able to locate her.
Out of character for her to be, not in contact with friends and family. We've received a complaint. We've taken it very seriously. We've searched for her using all of our investigative methods, and we have not been able to find her. So now we have to ask the community to try and help us.
And police are asking anyone with information to come forward. One of the men convicted in the sexual assault of a woman inside the former College Street bar has been sentenced. Enzo de Jesus Carrasco received 18 months in prison and 3 years probation. Jesus Carrasco and former College Street bar owner Gavin McMillan were both found guilty of gang sex assault and drugging a woman last November. Jesus Carrasco was also found guilty of voyeurism. As part of his sentence, he'll be prohibited from working alone with a woman. Much of the December 2016 attack on the victim, a former employee of the bar, was recorded by surveillance cameras. Gavin McMillan was sentenced earlier this year to 9 years in prison. Both men are appealing their convictions. For the 9th day in a row, Ontario saw COVID cases in the triple digits, and one region saw a big surge. There were 148 cases reported in the province today. Of those, 71 were in Peel region, 41 in Toronto. So what's going on in Peel? We'll have that story for you a little bit later in the show. Premier Doug Ford says his government intends to extend a moratorium on commercial evictions. The ban was brought in this summer to help businesses who were forced to shut down during the pandemic and struggling to pay rent. That ban expired August 31st. Today's surprise announcement of a possible one-month extension comes after CBC News learned some businesses have already been evicted for unpaid rent. Farah Morali has more.
This was the Tria Cafe and Bakery more than 2 years ago. On the final day of the 2018 provincial election campaign, Doug Ford paid a visit to the bustling Oakville Cafe. Today, it looks more like this. The lights are off, and the locks have been changed. The owners evicted.
I mean, we built this place from scratch.
Susu Rawanji says their business dropped by as much as 90% when the pandemic hit, and they couldn't afford to pay the rent in full.
I don't even want to begin to think of the financial ramifications and what are we going to do next and how is it going to affect our family. And I mean, it's a mess. It's a mess. It's a real mess.
The restaurant's GM says their landlord didn't opt into the optional federal program that offers rent relief for commercial tenants, but they only paid 25% of the rent. The feds cover 50%, and the landlord is responsible for the remaining 25%. So now he says they owe more than $50,000.
And there is no support. Okay, there was a brief period of, let's figure out what needs to be done, and then, puck, you're out on your own.
Businesses like Tria Cafe and Bakery were previously protected by Ontario's moratorium on commercial evictions, but that expired August 31st.
Now that September is here, eviction is back on the table, and we've got a lot of nervous small business owners about what's going to happen next.
The Canadian Federation of Independent Business says Tria Cafe and Bakery isn't alone.
We've also heard numbers in the tens of thousands of dollars owing for rent. After all, after labor, rent is the largest fixed cost businesses face, and if you can't pay it, you're going to be ousted.
Today, a new message from the government. It plans to continue the ban on commercial evictions.
It's going to go for another month to the end of September.
The Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing confirmed to CBC News it'll introduce legislation that bans commercial evictions, retroactive to September 1st. But until then, it seems those already evicted will just have to wait.
I mean, I'm sure there is a lot of people in my situation, I'm positive, but it's hard. This is something that's hard. It is tough.
Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
A rebound for Canada on the jobs front. Businesses added more jobs in August, recovering positions that were lost in the COVID-19 shutdowns in the spring. But as Jacqueline Hansen explains, we are still far from a full recovery.
Nearly 250,000 jobs were gained last month. If it was any other August, that would be huge. Instead, it's a sign that Canada's job market recovery is slowing. Compare it to June, when Canada added back nearly 1 million jobs, and in July, another 400,000. But in August, the reopenings had largely already happened.
As the opening slows, we would expect hiring to slow with it. A lot of workers that had been on temporary layoff have already been called back. So those still sitting on the sidelines, it actually unfortunately might take a little longer to be called back.
All in, Canada has gained back nearly 2 million jobs. That's still more than 1 million short of what was lost, but there are some other encouraging signs of strength. Most of the jobs added in August were full-time, and even sectors hardest hit by closures, including food services, continued to build back. However, those gains could be fragile.
I hate to say it, but this is our lifeblood. This is really 60% of our revenue is happening on this small little patio extension.
When patio season ends, restaurant capacity will be cut even further.
Those 4,500 employees are like family. To realize that you couldn't bring them all back to begin with, and now potentially have to lay some more off, it's going to be devastating, both from the impact of the business, but also emotionally as leaders.
The next phase of the recovery is expected to be slow and anything but certain. Jacqueline Hansen, CBC News, Toronto.
The Ontario Superior Court has struck down Premier Doug Ford's mandatory anti-gas tax stickers. Gas stations now have the option to keep the stickers on their fuel pumps or remove them as they see fit. The province brought in the measure in the spring of 2019 after Ottawa imposed a carbon tax levy in Ontario, one of 4 provinces that opted not to impose its own pricing schemes on carbon emissions. The province called the stickers a transparency measure to let people know how much the tax would cost them at the pumps. Gas station owners that didn't display the stickers faced possible fines of up to $10,000 per day. It has been 100 years since the Ed Mirvish Theatre opened its curtains for the first time. And since then, there's been many changes.
Just come from the orchestra level seating. Originally in 1920, this wasn't here. None of this was here. In fact, the seats went all the way to here.
We'll show you the century-long journey for this theatre coming up. Okay, Nick, it's a very important forecast that a lot of people are waiting on right now.
Okay, I'm going to preface it with this. Bear in mind the wonderful summer that we've had. And don't shoot the messenger.
I know where you're going with this. All right.
You know what? It's actually not going to be too bad. We do have a little bit of rainfall, but that, of course, isn't typical long weekend fashion. I feel like I say this every long weekend. But for the most part, we've got at least a couple of days of some sunshine in there. So 2 out of 3 is not too bad. We'll get to that in the long-range forecast. 21 degrees right now in Toronto. It was 23 earlier on. Nothing to speak of in terms of humidity. In fact, there's the Humidex map, and it really hasn't changed. The Humidex value is the same as the temperature right now. A bit breezy today, though. Winds out of the west or northwest, gusts 30 to about 50 kilometers per hour. These winds are slowly going to ease as we head through the evening hours tonight to about 10-15 kilometers per hour as we move through the evening. Now, we've seen a few showers north and east of the GTA. It's kind of the story for tomorrow as well. We've got a few scattered showers in the forecast. For the most part, it should stay out of the city of Toronto itself, kind of north and east. If you have plans to head that way for the long weekend, that's where you're more likely to see the showers. For tonight, 19 degrees this evening, 13 through the overnight, 23 for tomorrow. Again, about a 30% chance of seeing a few scattered showers across the region. Sunday's looking good. Monday, though, we've got some rainfall to talk about. We'll have full details coming up in your long-range forecast in just a bit.
Okay, we'll see you in a few. Thanks, Nick.
Bye.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
It's been 1 month since the massive explosion that devastated Beirut. The country held a moment of silence today at the exact minute the blast went off, killing nearly 200 people. But as Renee Filipponi reports, there is a sense of hope as rescue teams continue to look for a survivor.
A faint heartbeat detected in the rubble had crews searching for a second day, fueled by the chance someone may have survived. A rescue team from Chile is aiding the effort, moving rubble by hand, using sensors and sniffer dogs.
Maybe there's nothing, but as long as the trained dog is marking a human body, and the machine is giving us a heartbeat, as long as we're gonna keep searching. That's how it works.
As night fell on Beirut, the crew wouldn't confirm if they could still hear the heartbeat, just that they wouldn't give up. For the crowds watching with anticipation all day, there was also anger that after the blast, not enough was done to search. Adding to that outrage is news more explosive ammonium nitrate was found at the port.
I don't know how to explain how we ended up in this situation. The government has been completely complacent.
To mark a month since the explosion, there was a ceremony near the port and a moment of silence to remember the nearly 200 people who died. From his roof, the damage is everywhere Shadi Risk looks. The blast devastated his home and left scars all over his body that are a constant reminder of the moment he thought he was going to die.
I called home and my sister answered. So I was like, I'm dying. Please send my regards to everyone. And please stay with me on the phone.
His physical wounds are still healing, and risk had the stitches removed this week. His doctor says those injured in the explosion will never fully heal.
There are no scars that will completely disappear of the soul or of the flesh.
But even the chance of a survivor is enough to elicit the slightest sense of hope, something the people here are clinging to amid unbelievable devastation. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
Well, she may seem like she should be in high school, but she's actually starting her last year of university.
Most of the time, they're very, very surprised, but I always make sure that they don't treat me any differently than other classmates.
We'll introduce you to Vivian Shi coming up a little later in the show. Toronto's Ed Mirvish Theatre is celebrating 100 years of showtime, and there's been no shortage of drama on and off the stage. It's gone through a series of transformations and name changes over the century. CBC Toronto took a trip through some of the twists and turns of this landmark theatre.
We are celebrating the 100th anniversary of this building, which has had many names over the century, but now is called the Ed Rivers Theatre. The thing about this building is that it encompasses the entire history of mainstream entertainment. When it opened in 1920, it was a vaudeville house. Vaudeville, which was basically a review of various little acts. So the jugglers, acrobats, singers, dancers, magicians. Vaudeville was ushered out by 1935 when the talking pictures, as they were called, became the dominant entertainment. And at that point, it became a single-screen cinema. So the stage was covered up, a screen went there, and this became the largest single-screen auditorium in the country, and one of the largest in North America at 3,626 seats. I've just come from the orchestra level seating. Originally in 1920, this wasn't here, none of this was here. In fact, the seats went all the way to here. There was just a little lip over here, but the audience would come in from the Yonge Street Link, and they could either sit in the mezzanine or they could come down the stairs and sit in the orchestra. But by 1972, single-screen auditoriums had their day. Television was the dominant entertainment at that time. And while people still went to the movies, you couldn't get 3,600 people interested in one movie at one time. So it was cut up into 6 auditoriums in 1972. 1984, it was discovered that the building, which was owned by Famous Players, was not fully owned by them. They only owned 2/3 of it. 1/3 was owned by a family that had leased it to Famous Players in 1919. The owner of the land went to Cineplex and says, listen, Famous Players doesn't want to give me a new lease at the rate that I want. Would you be interested? And Cineplex found a clever way to build a 900-seat single-screen auditorium in their part of the building.
You'd never believe in your wildest dreams that this theater could possibly open tonight. 4 o'clock this afternoon, men were still laying bricks, plastering walls, and plugging in lights before some 800 invited guests would enter the newly renovated building tonight.
And when Famous Players saw that, they said, well, I guess we're at a stalemate. So, you know what? Cineplex will sell you our 2/3 of the building if you agree that it will never be used as a cinema again. And Cineplex thought about it, and they said, well, it would take out Famous Players from Yonge and Dundas, and it would become strictly Cineplex territory. And you know what? The live theater is booming, so we can turn it into a live theater. And that's why it became a live theater in 1989. That stained glass window was lost during the renovations to make the Imperial 6. We're restoring the theater in 1989. They didn't know what to do about it because they could not find it anyway. And then one night, one of the project directors of the restoration was driving in Rosedale, and after looking at pictures of this window, she saw it in a private home. And she knocked on the door, and she explained what it was for, and they graciously gave it back. And so it sits there right now. So we don't know what the future holds, but we are confident there will be a future, that we'll get through this, or we will adjust to it, and we will continue to offer live entertainment. You know, the theater is the oldest art form in human civilization.
Buddy coming to the ball.
Series on the line, Ananomi got it off, and it goes!
Oh, it was a buzzer beater shot that had fans holding their breath and then screaming in sweet relief. We'll bring you highlights of the Raptors' incredible game against the Celtics next. It is a long weekend tradition, but the Premier is asking Ontarians to hold off on partying. Doug Ford is worried about the growing number of new COVID-19 cases in the province, which again today was in the triple digits. And as Ali Chiasson tells us, the Premier singled out Peel, where most of the new cases are popping up.
Today marks the highest single-day jump of COVID-19 infections that Peel region has seen since June 4th, with 72 cases.
That's concerning, especially with the fall coming.
People are going to have to smarten up.
The timing isn't great, right? We're just days away from school starting. Who are you worried about?
I'm worried about my young siblings and my son. I'm worried about them.
Just this week, 2 Peel District School Board education workers tested positive for COVID-19. One, a teacher, another, an administrative worker, but neither were inside a school during the time they were infectious, and there's no risk to the school community. Like most of the province, Peel's case counts have been falling into the low teens over the last month. So why are they creeping up now?
Most of the cases, thankfully, have been linked to a number of workplace outbreaks and then household clusters associated with those same workplaces.
We are also a month into stage 3 of reopening, where we can have larger gatherings, dine indoors.
By being in stage 3, we really do need to make sure that businesses are taking precautions and ensuring that their employees and customers are being kept safe. And certainly that residents, as they're out and about in their household and social interactions, are also taking precautions to distance, to mask, to wash their hands, and also if they're not feeling well, to get tested and stay home rather than go out.
Peel Region's Medical Officer of Health says this uptick means people may be getting a little lax.
Those precautions aren't necessarily being adhered to, unfortunately, in every instance.
And the situation has caught the Premier's attention.
I'm really concerned about what is happening in Brampton. We won't hesitate to, again, shut it down because, again, we're seeing a slow creep.
Seeing this spike in cases means these mobile testing centers aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And timing is going to be critical in curbing this. We are headed into a long weekend after all. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Brampton.
And as we head into fall, it's time to think about that other viral infection, influenza. Health officials are concerned about what's dubbed as a twindemic, where the coronavirus pandemic could be compounded by this year's flu season. Nicole Ireland shows us why getting your flu vaccine is more critical now than ever.
I got the flu shot, I think, in February this year.
But 65-year-old Alina Gruder isn't sure she'll do it this fall, isolated with her husband. She worries if she ventures out of her bubble to get a flu shot, she could expose herself to COVID-19.
It's a worry to go to the clinic when the community spread is high.
That kind of thinking, especially among seniors, worries infectious disease specialists.
This is the year to get vaccinated, especially for our high-risk individuals.
Health experts are trying to avoid a twindemic this fall and winter, with a large number of people falling ill as both the flu and COVID-19 circulate in the community. Seniors and people with underlying health conditions are most at risk of complications and hospitalizations from either virus, but unlike COVID-19, there's a vaccine to help prevent the flu. That's why provinces and territories have bumped their flu shot orders up by almost 25%. By this time last year, Canada had purchased 11.2 million doses. This year, we're getting 13.7 million. The Public Health Agency of Canada says it's the largest order of influenza vaccine this country has ever placed.
Heart sounds good.
But that means a lot of pressure on the doctors, nurses, and pharmacists who administer the flu vaccine to meet the high demand while keeping everyone safe from COVID-19.
We can't just have, 50, 60 people an hour coming in to our clinic to get their vaccine because it's just too many people coming in too quickly with crowds and exposures.
Public health agencies are providing guidance, including spacing people apart, requiring masks, and COVID-19 screenings. We may also start seeing outdoor flu shot clinics and drive-through vaccinations.
I think this will be reassuring.
Once she sees those safety measures in place, Alina Gruder may get her flu shot after all. Nicole Ireland, CBC News, Toronto.
It was the buzzer beater heard across the city and beyond. And nope, we're not talking about Kawhi Leonard.
0.5 to go in game 3. OG with a look. Got it! OG Anunoby at the buzzer!
I could watch that a million times over. OG Anunoby making it look easy after a flawless pass from Kyle Lowry with half a second left in Game 3 and looking ever so casual after he drains that shot. OG was asked about his very subdued reaction after the game.
You showed no emotion after you hit the shot. Like, how did you stay so cool after such a big play?
Because my shot, I expected to make it. So like, I don't shoot trying to miss. Like, every shot I shoot, I try to make it. So I was not surprised. I wasn't surprised.
That has to be one of the most classic reactions of all times, man.
Oh, yeah, no question.
I just saw it for the first time about 10 minutes ago, and I'm just like, it brings a smile to your face.
Legend. The three-pointer lifted the Raptors to a 104-103 victory over the Celtics. It was essentially a must-win for the Raps. No team in the NBA in playoff history has ever come back from being down 3 games to win a series. Game 4 goes tomorrow at 6:30. Boston still leads the series 2-1. Did you catch that, Nick? All you needed was a half a second. That's all you needed to see.
You know what? I only caught the highlight. The highlight, but it seems like that was the most important part.
You got the best part.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Oh, man, the diehard fans are going to kill me for that, though. Here's a look at what we're dealing with in terms of temperatures. A little bit below seasonal, 21 degrees right now in the city of Toronto. It's a couple degrees below the seasonal mark. We're going to get back up to seasonal, though, as we head through tomorrow. We've seen scattered showers right through Ontario and Quebec, but mostly to the north. We've seen them north of the GTA as well. Tomorrow, same kind of a setup here. Again, we're going to see a few scattered showers, and that brings the risk for some of them in the GTA. So here's how it plays out in terms of your forecast. By tomorrow morning, look for sunny skies. By the afternoon, though, again, we're looking at scattered showers now. I've looked at a few different forecast models. This one, it does seem to overplay it a little bit. So, I mean, I wouldn't look at this as being a big rainfall event. But that being said, expect to see scattered showers across the region. About a 30% chance you're going to see them in your neighborhood tomorrow. Sunday morning, sunshine, increasing cloud cover through the later part of the day. This is the system that we're watching for Monday, though. It will bring with it some showers and thunderstorms, mostly through Monday morning, though. Now, if the timing of this thing works out in our favor, it'll be sort of Sunday night through early Monday morning. But I think right through till about the noon hour at least is what we're looking at, and then I'm thinking it'll sort of taper off as we head toward Monday afternoon. 13 degrees right now, overnight tonight in the city of Toronto, 23 tomorrow, so we're back at the seasonal mark again, the risk for a few scattered showers. 22 on Sunday, mainly sunny skies, increasing cloud cover. There's your showers and thunderstorms as we head through Monday. I think we could see some strong thunderstorms in there as well. An increase in humidity Sunday and Monday, and then just a few lingering spotty showers as we head through Tuesday and Wednesday. I think if I stand here, right there, it makes the long weekend look a little better, doesn't it?
And, well, you know what? You're just too likable to
which way am I
dislike.
going?
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm trying to cover this one here anyway.
Yeah, well, just stay right there.
Yeah.
Cover the rain. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
Well, after a much anticipated release delayed by the pandemic, Disney's Mulan is now available to watch from the comfort of your own home for a price.
We have excellent news. The matchmaker has found you an auspicious match.
It is decided. Come and sit down.
Eli Glasner will join us to break it all down and let you know if it is worth the price after the break.
Yes, I will bring.
What's your name, soldier?
Hua Jun, Commander, son of Hua Zhou.
You will now take the oath of the warrior.
Loyal.
Brave. True. Release!
22 years after the release of Disney's animated version, Mulan is back, remade as a live-action film. You know the story, a determined Chinese warrior and her protector, a talking dragon. You can catch the film starting today, but not on the big screen. Here to explain is our film reviewer, Eli Glasner. I'm still trying to get over the fact that it was 22 years ago that the animated version came out, Eli. But we all remember, I think this was supposed to be in the theaters. There was even a red carpet in LA, and then that pandemic happened. So let's first talk about where we can watch this film now.
Yeah, Disney fought hard to try and keep it in theaters. There was a date for July and then August. Now the only place you can find it is on that streaming service if you happen to subscribe to Disney Plus, and you're going to have to pay extra for what they call premium access. If you shell out $34.99, you can start watching Mulan right now, and you can watch it tomorrow, and the next day it is unlocked. It is unlimited, so you can watch Mulan to your heart's content, or if you like, you can wait until December 4th, where Mulan will be finally free to subscribers. But those are the only ways to watch it currently.
Which is quite a difference from what we've been used to with these blockbusters. So we know what the price is. I want to know if it's worth it. So let's take us to the beginning. For this new version, where does it start?
Well, the beginning of this is in China, back during the Han Dynasty. We're with Mulan's family at the beginning in this small village. You see the villagers there, and there he is, Tai Ma, the actor playing Mulan's father. Amazing actor. I don't know if you saw the movie The Farewell. He also played the dad there. But here he's the father of Mulan, and being the father of a child like Mulan is no easy thing just because she's so talented, and yet as she grows up as a young woman, there really isn't a place for her in the village or even society. And now here comes the matchmaker. Let's take a look.
It is decided. Come and sit down. It is what is best for our family.
Yes, I will bring honor to us all.
So there you go. She's ready to be the good daughter, to do her duty. But what happens is, well, war. There are invaders. They are ransacking the various villagers and villages. And so the emperor is gathering an army. And that means that father is going to have to go back into battle. He's already been injured. And so to protect him, to protect the family, Mulan takes his armor, takes his special sword, sneaks away. And you know the plan. She's going to try and disguise herself to pass as a male soldier. But even that very first day that she's enlisted, another soldier gets into her face, and we'll see how it goes. Let's take a look.
Insult me again and you'll taste the tip of my blade.
Lower your sword.
What?
I'm your commanding officer. Fighting will not be tolerated, am I clear?
Yes, Commander.
There you go.
Ooh.
Donnie Yen, you might recognize him. He was that Jedi monk in Rogue One, and he can make those swords sing, and you can see how difficult it'll be for Mulan to try and pass.
Okay, so it seems like there's a lot of really cool visual effects here. There is this generation that has a lot of affection for the '98 version. What did you think?
I mean, I think you really have to adjust to the kind of film this is, and there's a lot of things that it's not. There are no songs. There's a lot less comedy. There's no funny talking dragon voiced by Eddie Murphy. If I had to compare this Mulan to anything, it would be Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, in that it has that kind of epic quality. This is directed by Nikki Caro, and you look at what she has done with this amazing vision that she's put on the screen. This is a $200 million movie. movie, and it looks like a $200 million movie. So visually, it's quite spectacular. But Maribel, I have to say, I wanted a little more in terms of the story itself. If there is a connection to that kid's cartoon, it's the simplicity of the script. I think it could have been richer, it could have been deeper, it could have been a little more subtle than what we see. But I wanted to see what someone else thought, because look, I'm a guy, I'm in my 40s. I agree, I'm not the target audience. So I reached out to Melissa Silverstein, who is the founder of Women and Hollywood, and she adored this film. She really connected to the universal themes of these girls who are breaking with tradition and following their own path. What she's also excited about is how this blockbuster redefines who can be a hero. Take a listen.
What we want to see is these stories of the women who in our lives all around us, they're heroes. And seeing that, portrayed on the screen as important as the story of the male heroes. And that's something we've been denied.
And it's interesting, Ravel, the other thing that we've been denied, what could have been a summer of female starring, female filmed blockbusters. Wonder Woman 1984, The Eternals, of course, Mulan, Black Widow, and all of these things have been scrambled because, of course, of COVID-19. But now a lot of people will be really watching to see how Mulan performs. I think for younger audiences, it's ideal. Not exactly for me, so I'm going to give it 3 stars out of 5. But if those kids can get the parents to shell out, then I think they'll enjoy it.
Like this parent whose daughter is already giving it 5 out of 5, Eli. But she's the target audience, not you. You're right. Thanks.
Yeah.
We want to introduce you to 15-year-old Vivian G. She isn't old enough to drive a car, but Vivian is starting her last year of a 4-year bachelor's degree at the University of Toronto. You heard that right, 15 years old and almost through university. How is that possible? Well, let's ask Vivian herself. She joins us via Skype from Toronto. Thanks for joining us, Vivian.
Hello.
Okay, so we're still obviously in a pandemic. Your semester at the U of T is about to start. So can you talk about how different the start of this school year is compared to the last 3 you've had?
Right, so because I'm in 4th year now, so my last year at the bachelor's degree, it's a little bit less worrying for me because I don't have as much lab courses. But I guess especially some of my classmates that are in younger years, their lab courses are getting messed up because of the pandemic. They can't really go in all that much.
So, and a lot of online courses as well for you, I guess.
Online courses now, yeah.
Okay. I think the one big question that a lot of people would have is how you ended up in university at such a young age. So can you give us a sense of how you ended up there at 13?
Yeah, so I skipped a lot of grades, especially I skipped a lot in primary school and a lot in junior high, as well as I skipped grade 10 in high school. And that took a lot of transferring around, but I ended up here eventually.
So can you explain a little bit about what your university experience has been like then?
Oh, sure. So it's not that much different from regular college kids, I believe. In my experience, most people actually don't tend to know my age until I explicitly tell them.
And what happens when you tell them? What's the reaction?
Most of the time, they're very, very surprised. But I always make sure that, we're still on good terms afterwards so that they don't treat me any differently than other classmates.
Well, I mean, one thing is when you're at university, making friends and mingling, that can be a challenge for anybody, regardless of age. So at the beginning, what was that like for you? Because you were 13 years old and the other students there would be years older than you.
Yeah, it wasn't that different originally either. I was very used to it in high school. And my friends, well, all my friends are in the same grade as I am, so I'm very used to the social aspects of school life, and I interact with them. I make friends very easily, despite the age gap.
Yeah, that certainly seems so. That's important, but that will come. So tell us a little bit quickly about what you're studying now and what you plan to do after, because this is a graduation year for you.
Yeah, so studying right now, my main interests are immunology and cell biology. After I graduate my bachelor's degree, I'll be looking into grad school, so either a master's or PhD in biology, most likely something to do with immunology and immunotherapy.
I've read somewhere too that somewhere in the area of cancer research too is what you'd like to pursue.
Yeah, cancer immunotherapy.
Okay. That's fascinating stuff, Vivian, and just want to wish you the best of luck. Last question, though, is what's the best thing, your favorite thing to do for fun?
Oh, my favorite thing? Hobbies-wise, my most favorite would probably tie with art and creative writing would be my most favorite.
Okay. Well, we will watch where your academic career and perhaps beyond takes you. For now, all the best, and thanks for joining us.
Great. Thank you.
Super impressive young woman, Nick.
You know what I was saying to Dwight the last time I was here? I said, these kids are putting us to shame.
I know, we
Between
can't keep
sports
up.
and academics. Oh my goodness. Anyway, really impressive stuff.
Yeah.
So we were talking about the long weekend rainfall. It's not a long weekend washout, but some rain for Monday. So I just want to review the forecast with you again here as we head through tonight. Look for mainly clear skies. Tomorrow, though, scattered showers through the afternoon. This model seems to overdo it a little bit, but again, scattered showers, especially sort of north and east of the GTA. Sunday looks pretty good for the most part. Actually, it's not until the very sort of late evening hours where we get the chance for some showers, but Monday morning, that's the one that we're watching there. Quick look at your long weekend forecast there. If you blank out Monday, the rest of it doesn't work. too bad.
We've had a good summer, I agree. Thanks, Nick.
You bet.
And that's our show for you tonight. Thank you for joining. We'll see you back here on Monday at 6. Have a great weekend, everyone.